Good morning. My name is Gagandeep Garg, Assistant Professor, Department of Food Processing, Guru Nanak College, Budalada. Today's my topic is bread faults and remedies. Contents: bread, ingredients of bread making process in brief, ideal characteristics of bread faults. In bread faults, we will discuss about too much volume, flying top, too dark crust color, uneven crumb texture, too low volume, blisters of crust, pale crust color, lack of oven spring, collapsed bread, side collapsing, badly shaped loaf, molded and drop, close lump texture, hole in crumb. Next, quality control and conclusion. Bread. Bread is a dietary product obtained from fermentation. A good bread should be judged by its volume, bloom, shape, color, texture, sheen, moistless, and flavor. Commercial bread commonly contains additives to improve flavor, texture, color, shelf life, nutrition, and age of production. Types of bread: white bread, high fiber bread, fruit bread, high protein bread, milk bread, multigrain bread, gluten free bread. Next, ingredients that are used for making bread. First is flour. It is a bulking ingredient of bread. It contains gluten that help to form an elastic stretchy dough. Next is water. Transforms flour into a viscoelastic dough that retains gas produced during fermentation. Yeast. It is important in fermentation. It ferments sugars and produce carbon dioxide gas and ethanol. Sugars, uh, source of fermentable carbohydrate for yeast, and it also provides sweet taste. Next is salt. It increases flavor of all other ingredients that adds taste to the bread. Fat makes the bread texture softer, improve its freshness and shelf life. Calcium propionate. Calcium propionate is used for preservative, like chemical preservative, that prevents mold growth. Next is surfactant, that is anti-styling agent. Uh, Next is bread making process. Bread making is complex process where various physiochemical biological transformation take place simultaneously. A two-dimensional model was developed for the bread baking process, taking into account of volume expansion, heat, and mass transfer process. First, this is a flow chart. First is mixing of yeast, water, salt, grains, or flour in mixing tray. Next is resting process. Resting. Next is kneading. In kneading, we will prepare the dough. Next is rising. Rising is also called proofing. Next is shaping. In this step, we give the shape, or we mold the bread into shape. Next is rising. In this step, we allow the bread, we allow the dough to rise some volume. Next is baking. Next is cooling and eating. Ideal characteristics of a loaf of bread: even top with slightly rounded corners, smooth thin crust with no holes, streaks, crack, or wrinkles, uniform golden brown crust, rim of crust is pale, fine crumb, uniform cell structure, thin cell walls, texture to touch, soft to touch. When we touch the bread, it becomes soft, it is soft. Next is bread fault. Sometimes some changes will raise during production of bread. It will be the difference from normal bread quality standard. It is also called bread fault. Following are the most possible causes of bread fault. First cause is wrong quality of raw material is used in bread making, and wrong quality inaccurate measurement of ingredients. Inadequate knowledge about raw material and its functions. Unbalanced formula and wrong processing procedure is used. Incorrect method of knockback divining, molding, and panning. Next is first is too much volume. Too much volume has to be considered with the relation of its base. Too much volume will make the bread stale and clumsy. Various causes. First causes of too much volume is overproofed. When bread is overproofed, it becomes too much volume. Next is too much yeast. Next, overscaling. Next, incorrect flour level. Too much improver. Here are the remedies. First is check the proofing height. Next, check correct yeast level. Next, scale according to the recipe. Check correct premix percentage. Check if bread flour was used. Reduce, improve percentage. Next is flying top. When top of bread become fly or become rise excessively, then the fault is known as flying top. In flying top, the top crust instead of rising gradually burst open under the pressure of expanding gas. First cause is underproofed, cold dough, too much yeast, flour too strong, overmixed, too much improver. Here are the remedies. Proof the correct height. Increase temperature. Increase water temperature. Check correct yeast level. Check flour quality. Mix shorter. Check premix level. Decrease improver. Next fault is too dark color, crust color. When the color of bread become too dark, it become faulty. When the crust of color bread is too dark, then the bread is unacceptable. Sometimes too dark color of crust gives off or burnt flavor. Here are some causes of too dark crust color of bread. First is oven temperature too high, too much premix, 4 with high enzyme activity, too much sugar, too much salt. Here are some remedies. Set correct baking temperature, check correct premix level, check flour quality, add less sugar, check correct salt level. The optimum level of salt become is 2% of level of its weight. Next fault is uneven crumb texture. When the dough is not fermented long enough with the gluten will not reach its maximum intensity. Bread showing large irregular holes. Here are some causes to salt dough. When we add too much salt to the dough, then the irregular holes are happen in the bread. Dough too cold, no resisting time, bad molding, too little fat or improver, too little per mix. Here are some remedies. Check dough consistency, increase water temperature, give short resting time, molding correctly, add more fat or improver. Next, check premix level. Next fault is too low volume. When the volume become no rise, then it becomes faulty bread. When bread doesn't rise, less volume will turn the bread less flavored and heavy. Over fermented may be also be a reason for lack of volume in bread. Here are some causes. First cause is undermixed, underproofed, weak flour, too little yeast, incorrect premix level, too little improver. Here are some remedies. Mix correct time, proof the correct time, check flour quality, add more yeast, add correct premix level, add more improver. Next fault is blisters on crust. A small bubbles on the crust of bread refers as fault named blister on crust. Various causes for blisters on crust are under fermented dough, overproofed, excessive steam in proofer, overmixed, too little improver, too little premix and salt. Here are some remedies: mix the correct time, proof the correct height, reduce the steam in proofer, mix the according to recipe, add more improver, check premix level and salt. Next is pale crust color. When the color of bread become off-white due to low baking temperature, this type of fault is pale crust color. This type of bread spoil easily. First cause is too low baking temperature, too warm high dough, dough over fermented, too little salt, too premix salt. Here are some remedies that are protect from pale crust color. First is increasing baking temperature, add colder water, work dough off faster, add correct salt level, check correct premix level. Next is lack of oven spring. When some area of bread become unbaked, it appear white color in that area. Over fermentation is basic cause of this fault. Uh, these are some causes. First cause is dough over fermented, dough overproofed, excessive oven steam, weak flour, too low premix level and improver level, too low fungal amylase level. Here are some remedies. First is rest dough shorter, check proofing height, reduce time, reduce streaming time, check flour quality, increase premix level and improver level, increase fungal amylase level. Next is collapsed bread. During baking, the loaf collapsed oven temperature is low. This means the dough rises to its maximum, then collapses before it gets hot enough to set, or dough could have been over risen. First cause is incorrect recipe. Next, undermixed, overproofed, weak flour, too little yeast, too little improver. Here are some remedies. Check recipe formulation, increase mixing time, check proofing height, check flour quality, add more yeast, add correct premix level, add more improver. Next is side collapsing. When the side of bread become collapsed inside due to low temperature of baking and other causes, it is considered as side collapsing bread fault. The total volume of bread become decreased. Here are some causes. First cause is too much improver, too high fungal amylase, bread left too long in pan, too much yeast, too much malt flour, flour with high enzyme activities. Here are some remedies. First remedy is reduce improver doses, reduce fungal amylase doses, remove bread from pan, reduce yeast level, reduce malt flour uses. Next is badly shaped loaf. The shape of loaf depends upon structure of gluten formulation. Incorrect molding also causes poor loaf shape. Here are some causes. First cause is careless molding, seam not on the bottom, incorrectly placed into pan, two-step dough, bad rounding and or end molding. Remedies: molding correctly, place seam at the bottom, place dough evenly in pan, increase water level, set round molder and end molding correctly. Next next fault is molded and rope. Rope is one of main disease that affect the bread, develops in the form of patchiness and the crumb become sticky. Here are some causes of molded and rope bread. First cause is no anti-rope agent used. Second is underbaked, unhygienic bakery conditions, old dough or old bread added, bread not cooled, bread stored in hot and dim conditions, contains anti-rope agent. These are remedies. Bake longer, clean bakery daily, reduce old dough or rework bread, cool bread down rapidly after baking, store bread at 18 to 20 degrees Celsius in dry place. Next is close crumb texture. This bread become not sliced neatly and may break into fragments by the pressure of slicer blades. Here are some causes. First cause is too stiff dough. Next is too little proved, too little premix, too much improver, too barn dough. Here are some remedies. First is add more water. Second is increase proofing time. Third is check correct premise level. Fourth is decrease improver level. Fifth is add color. Add colder water. Next are quality controls. Various quality controls are used to make the quality of bread better. As foodstuff, bread is subject to the stringent government food processing regulations, including but not limited to the percent of additives allowed, sterilization of plant equipment, and cleanliness of plant workers. In addition to adhering to these regulations, procedures control the quality of their products to meet consumer expectations by installing checkpoints or various stages of food processing. At each inspection station, the bread are tested for appearance, texture, and taste. Next is conclusion. In checking these fault, an analysis of various causes will show inferior ingredients, unbalanced formula, improper mixing, incorrect fermentation time, poor control of temperature, time, humidity throughout the production process account for most of bread faults. A process of elimination must be instituted. The possible causes or causes determined and proper remedial are applied. Here are the references, and thank you. Any question you can ask me. Thank you very much.